Oh dear.
Hello and welcome back to the Connections Hack for 2021. My name is Reg Sorrell.
And I'm Jo Saunders. And in today's episode, we're talking about reviewing your LinkedIn presence to kick off 2021. In today's episode, now I'm going to hints and tips. No, all right, this is it. All right, done. In today's episode, we're going to be helping you review your profile and positioning, your connections, and your content.
Awesome. Okay, so there was three things there, Jo. There was positioning.
Yes.
There was connections.
Yes.
And content. Is that
Content,
correct?
yes.
Excellent. All right, let's start with positioning.
Yes.
So, tell me about that. How do I position myself? What does that actually mean?
So positioning, there's two aspects on LinkedIn. You've got your profile and your page, if you have one, if you run a business. So you would want to be reviewing your profile. So if we start from the top and we look through. So is your profile photo up to date? Does it look like you today? Now mine doesn't, probably, depending on my hair color.
When does it ever match, Jo?
Sometimes I'm blue, it happens. So profile photo, does it look like you? Will someone recognize you essentially? And is it as professional as it can be within your budget, I'll say.
Excellent, so that's your profile picture.
Yep. Headline. Now headline is probably a big one to review because you might have changed over the pivot time. You might have pivoted somewhere and forgot to pivot on LinkedIn. So is your headline reflecting what you're doing today or what you're aspiring to do? So you might want to look at that and make some tweaks.
It could even just be a refresh. You obviously might be still doing the same thing, but you might just want to change the wording, spruce it up a little bit.
Well, that's right. You might have a new buzzword.
The keywords or whatever it is.
Yeah, like you might be the pivot queen now because you've pivoted 5 times and I don't know, whatever the thing is. So that's headline. So then you've got the about section, which is kind of your story, your overarching story. So is there something in there that's missing? Have you not, refreshed it for 5 years? So having a look at, how it's written, making sure it's in the first person, it's got some personality because you don't want to write in a very corporate, boring speak because that's not going to connect. So reviewing that. Looking at your experience section as well. Is it up to date? Are there any new roles that you've taken on that you haven't added to your profile? Or any projects that require a role? So one of the little tips I've shared before is splitting your role in experience into 2 or 3 or even more. So within your business, you might do some training and you might also do consulting, or you might do speaking and you might be an author, things like that. So is there a call to split it up so that you've got more real estate for each of those things and you can be really hyper specific? So that's something you do.
Okay, I know that. That's good.
Yeah, I know. I got some good tips. Who knew?
Not me.
And also checking that you have linked your profile to your company page. Now, if you've got a business, having a company page, you want to make sure you've got one purely for branding purposes. But if you work for an organization, link to their page if they have one.
How do you know if it's linked?
The logo will show up.
There we go. I knew that one. That's why I asked the question.
Well, unless the page doesn't have a logo.
Well, that's true. Yeah,
which shouldn't happen. So yeah, so that's the thing. So that's experience, and then just going through. Is your education up to date? Have you done? Or are you partially way through doing a qualification? Are there some volunteering things that you haven't added?
Did you upskill during the lockdown?
Yeah, upskill in lockdown. That's a good phrase. So yeah, making sure that those educational pieces are on your profile, courses, the accomplishment section, and your skills actually. You've just reminded me then. Skills. Are there skills you've acquired that are not listed? Have you suddenly become a
crocheter?
Yeah.
Can you sew? Can you knit?
Can you?
No.
Okay.
Goodness no.
No, so none of that. But you might have upskilled on a particular software, like a new video editing strategy. I'm thinking UREG, or some special lighting kind of thing that you just, I don't know. Yeah. I'm trying to think, and I'll just make it up and stuff it up, so I won't say anything. I won't make up words. So that's that. The other thing I didn't mention at the very top of your profile is your background image.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Yeah, so I did say I was starting at the top and then I skipped that one for fun.
Totally.
Yeah, I thought I'd come back to that. So the background image is something that's quite important because it's that visual sort of engagement. Now that's something you can refresh often, but unlike Facebook, it doesn't create like a post in the feed or anything.
Right, yeah.
So no one knows you've updated it unless they've come to your profile, but it's something you can use to promote what you're doing at the moment. Have you launched a book? Have you launched a new program? Have you got some new services? Do you have some photos of you doing something different? You know, so if you've pivoted and you're doing a lot of online stuff, have a photo of you surrounded by all your setup. Like if you do speaking online, having all your gear, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So does that cover your profile as such? And
It does, yes. Now, I forgot to say at the beginning, make sure you stick around for the extra ninja trip that we forgot to talk about earlier.
We do this quite regularly, don't we?
We do. So we have got something, a bit of an extra thing to do with profiles I'm going to talk about shortly, so stick around for that one. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention in terms of positioning is pages. So if you've got a company page for your business or your entity, whatever that is, like we've got a page for the connection count.
We do.
Which is not a business per se, but it needs its own page because that way we can share content there and build an audience. So, you know, is there a page you haven't created that you might need? The page you have, is it up to date? Once again, you know, is the logo accurate? Is the branding accurate? Is the story, the about section accurate? So just go through and give it a bit of a review.
Yeah. Good idea.
Yeah. And because some company pages have got a lot more functionality now, and we're going to be talking about that in future videos, but also the content from a company shows up in the feed, so you might want to review your content strategy, which we're going to talk about shortly, so hang on, just keep watching.
More nuggets to come.
More nuggets, that's right. Yes, that's positioning in a nutshell.
Okay, excellent. This is me in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, yes, exactly.
All right, so the next part, which is your connections, is that right?
Yeah, so reviewing your connections. So there are different places to sort of look at this.
Why? Why should I review connections, Jill?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, you might have over time, particularly if you've pivoted, we're going to keep saying this word, aren't we? If you've shifted your focus or you've got connections from a different industry from a long time ago, maybe you're a teacher and now you run a knitting practice, sorry, croaky throat, a knitting practice and nothing to do with each other, or you're you're a construction manager and you were something else. So you might have people in your network that aren't relevant. Now, just because you've moved careers or changed focus doesn't mean you need to get rid of them completely, but might just be reviewing them because maybe you've changed physical locations too. So it's just keeping it fresh. Now, there are a couple of ways to do this. You can just use your home feed. That's actually a good indicator because the stuff you see in your feed is the stuff that LinkedIn thinks you're interested in. I mean, that's it simplified. I mean, there's an algorithm, that sort of stuff. But every time you see something in the feed, like if I see posts from Reg, and I see them often, and I really don't want to hear from Reg because it's boring. It's not Reg. I love your stuff. I love it. I wait for it. I sit on the edge of my seat. You can click on the three dots at the top right of any post, and you can tell LinkedIn you're not interested in that particular post, but you can also unfollow the person there. So I use the feed as one place to unfollow people. So you've got unfollowing people and removing people completely.
So unfollowing, you just don't see their content, and removing is they're no longer a connection.
Yes, that's right. So if they're no longer a connection, obviously you're not going to see their content unless you follow them but not connect. But why would you do that? It just means they're not going to see your content in their feed though. So keep that in mind if you remove someone, and particularly if there's someone who's a potential client. So that's when unfollowing might come in useful. But also you can't message each other. So, which also means that you can't invite them to your events, you can't invite them to follow your page. So think before you remove someone. You know, you'd remove someone maybe if they were, you know, complete value mismatch, they were offensive, they've done the wrong thing, they're a spammer, those sorts of things. So unfollowing is probably your friend really. I would do that over removing someone. So unfollowing, you can do the feed and you can do it on their profile as well.
Right. Is there any negatives to not doing that with your connections and just letting them like Pokemon?
Well, yeah, there is, because particularly if you're not very active on LinkedIn, as in you don't engage with people's content, LinkedIn's guessing what it thinks you're interested in. So you're going to get content in your feed that's fairly random based on your connections from people in different industries. But also, I had another point. It's gone now. Why would you not want to do that? It's come back now. See, it just disappeared and came back very quickly. Back. I don't know what that was, but I was catching it before it left.
Excellent.
Anyways,
again.
Digress.
Keep on. They want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Just hang on. I'm going to tell you in a minute. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you. All right. The connection limit.
The connection limit.
Yeah.
Yes, there is one.
Yeah. So do you remember what it was, Reg?
Yes.
Yeah?
No.
30,000, okay? You can have 30,000 connections, which is a lot. But if you've got, say, 29,000 whatever, and you don't cull some connections, then obviously your new people can't come in. So right now you might have 2,000 connections or 556 connections. And you might be thinking, well, I'm way off that. But the longer you leave this, the harder it is to clean up later. And you'll end up having to then spend a lot of time cleaning up your network, or you'll have to engage someone to help you, like a virtual assistant or something like that, which you don't want to do. So you're better off keeping it clean and tidy early on. Yeah, tidy up now, because I've got, I don't know, 8,000 connections, say. If I want to go through and clean those up now, that's a lot of work. I mean, there's ways to sort and whatever, which is my next point, is using search, filtering down to first level connections, and then searching on criteria to look for people that don't fit, if they're in particular industries or whatever. So you do want to clean up, but you don't want to overclean.
Right, overclean.
Overclean.
You want to have a sterile environment.
But not too sterile, because, germs,
Yep.
Let your kids eat dirt, I reckon. It's good for them.
Let them eat dirt. I feed them dirt.
Yeah, exactly. So clean up. So do it in the feed, do it in the My Network icon, which is where your network live, and then you can do a sort by alphabetical. I was going to make up a word then that didn't. Yeah, it was wrong.
Let's just stick with words we know.
Yeah, or you go into the filters and actually use the criteria to narrow it down and find people that way, and then either remove them or unfollow them.
Excellent.
Yeah, that was a long-winded way of talking about that, but that's what you can do.
All right.
Okay.
Next one,
content. Now, reviewing your content. So that one's a little bit easier because you want to just go to your profile. So we've got profile and page, obviously. So profile, go to your activity, click on the see more, and then you've got posts, you've got articles, and you've got document posts, which are a specific type of post. So you might want to go through and review what's working. Now, this is their long way of doing it, because LinkedIn doesn't give you a way to review content on LinkedIn.
Can you filter your own content by date even?
Actually, you can in search now. And this is brand new. And I discovered this yesterday. Because I was showing someone search and I saw a new feature. So you can look for things, but it's a little bit tedious and a bit clunky. But there's no way to really go.
Not like LinkedIn, is it?
No, not at all. But if you want to know what's your most successful content, like which one got the most views, the most comments, most engagement, there's no way to do that in LinkedIn.
Right.
This is where other tools like Shield come in. So Shield's a great app that ties into LinkedIn and feeds data back. Now, it's more about, actually no, it does work on your profile in that sense. So that's where it adds another layer. But the other one is page. Like your page content feeds in. But your page does have some analytics to allow you to sort of have a look at what's working. So you can actually see, if you go into your insights, I should say, and it shows you can select your content and sort of look overview, how many views, how many comments, all that sort of stuff. Because you're looking for patterns, you're looking for things that worked. Yeah. Like you might say, video doesn't work for me, but then you've never done a video, so you've got no evidence.
Or the video you did one video,
and that didn't work, and maybe because it was too long or it was boring. Or just bad quality or whatever it is. So you've got to look beyond the actual metrics, because some of the metrics don't really matter. Now, and just to mention the metrics while we're reviewing, don't worry too much about views too much, because views just mean your content's hit the feed. So when you're scrolling down your feed, stuff's there, you stop or you don't stop. A view doesn't mean the person's seen it. It means it's hit their feed.
Right.
So it means my content's hit your feed and you've just kept going. So, that's not really accurate. And even a video view, you watch the video for 3 seconds.
Yeah, it's not.
That's it. 4 seconds they might have got left. They might have watched the whole 10 minute videos on LinkedIn. No, don't do that. But if someone's watched it, you don't know the difference. So the most important metric in terms of reviewing is comments. Comments are your most powerful, followed by likes and reactions.
Shares
are okay. I mean,
Wouldn't that be a better indicator than likes? People just scroll past and like, just for the sheer, someone's name I know, like.
Well, yeah, but
a share is actually, I would have thought a bit more.
Yeah.
I've looked at it, I've read it, that's valuable.
Yeah.
It's a better decision, to.
It shows an investment in your content. So, I guess.
Does LinkedIn think that? Or
LinkedIn, well.
I don't know.
In terms of analytics and metrics, shared content doesn't perform as well as commenting on someone else's content. That's where you should spend time. But if someone's sharing yours, in terms of reviewing your content, looking at people's number of shares is important, because it's people, I guess, valuing your content and your brand. So, yeah. Now, we talked about a bit of a the extra thing we were going to share while you're reviewing.
Yes.
Now, I've mentioned Shield. Shield's a great app that has some external metrics that it pulls from LinkedIn. But LinkedIn does have a sort of hidden metric that a lot of people don't know about.
No, they don't.
No.
I didn't know about it until you told me.
No, and you even forgot to talk about it earlier.
We did.
You know?
That's...
Yeah. So it's called the Social Selling Index, the SSI score. Yes.
Yeah. Which is divided into 4 sections, is that correct?
Yeah, so LinkedIn looks at your presence and it looks at your professional setup. So this is coming from your profile. It looks at the way you engage with insights, search, and the way you build your network and relationships. So when you're on LinkedIn, there's no way to kind of click and go to your social selling index, not like a button or anything. That's what I'm saying, it's hidden. You have to know it's there. So when you're logged in to LinkedIn, if you get rid of all whatever the URL is, you need to be on linkedin.com/sales/SSI. So delete whatever's there, go back to linkedin.com and then type the rest.
Yep.
So when you hit enter, you'll be presented with like a pie chart split into 4 areas. So the numbers, you get a pie. You're hungry? Yeah. What's your favourite pie?
Oh, savoury pie? I'd go for a steak and mushroom or for a sweet pie carrot cake. That's a cake, but I didn't want to mention carrot cake because I love carrot cake.
Cake, but a pie?
No,
carrot pie?
No, it's got nothing to do with pies. I just thought I mentioned carrot cake.
Oh, okay, carrot cake. That sounds like a good idea. Anyways, back to the point. So a pie chart.
Now SSI, Social Selling Index.
So the pie chart is split into the 4, and you'll get a metric out of 25 on each, which totals 100. Maths, there's your maths done for the day.
Excellent.
So if you're sort of 70 or above, you're deemed an influencer from LinkedIn's perspective. It just means that you're doing all the right things. But what you want to look at, the things you can influence, is the top one and the bottom one. So the top one is the branding, the personal brand, and the bottom one is about building your network. The other 2 require Sales Navigator, which is the paid platform. So if you don't have that, don't worry, because the goal is not to get to 100. That would mean you have no life. And you've probably got a job that's not LinkedIn, so don't worry about that. I've never been over 90, so there you go. But your goal is to know what you are now, and then either maintain it if it's good, or increase it if it's not so good. And it gives you some feedback on how you rank against your industry, but you've got to keep in mind that your industry can be quite broad. Like my industry, I'm in professional training and coaching. Now that's a massive industry, and a lot of people may not be using LinkedIn. Even marketing and advertising, which is the other industry I was part of, which I changed, there's a lot of marketing people who don't use LinkedIn. So it's a very broad industry, so don't worry too much about it. But if you're higher than your industry, woohoo to you.
Well done.
Totally, I mean, celebrate that. Whatever your way that you celebrate, reward yourself, because why not?
Carrot cake.
Carrot cake, totally. But if you compare, the other metric it gives is how you compare to your network. Now, just throw that away. Don't even worry about it, because if you're connected to some really influential people, then you're going to be lower because they're pushing it up. But if you could remove them though, then in your own land room, you're a superstar. If that's your thing, go for it. But I just recommend ignoring it, because it doesn't really mean a great deal. It just ranks you against the people you're already connected to. So yeah, so just know that. So Social Selling Index is a way to benchmark where you are, and then follow our videos, which will be coming up. We've got a whole range planned for the year, and plus our previous episodes, but follow our guidance and put some things into place, and then look at your SSI on a regular basis, maybe every quarter, something like that, just to see where you're tracking.
Excellent. Okay, so in the comment section below, type in what you're going to attack first with your review. Will it be your positioning, will it be your connections, or will it be your content? So either one of those, just one word, that's all we need to know. We can
pie.
Oh, pie. Right, so what you need to do as well, Joe, right, is if they want to learn more and do a deep dive, then they can go to your website and they can read a blog post, which will be in a link in the description below.
Yes.
And that would be my port of call. Go there, watch and read if there's a video. If not, you can watch this one again. But that's it, Joe. I think we've all covered it all.
Yeah.
We squeezed in the SSI.
We did.
And go to Joe's website and read her blog post on how to dive deep in your LinkedIn review. Thank you very much for watching.
Yeah, see you next week.